Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe, Kyle, and Ray. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show. Me, Reviews Without Remorse. Supreme Being. Me, protect you from crappy movies. And this is episode number 204. And in this episode, Spaceballs the sequel. Is it something to get excited over? We'll knock it around. 50 years ago, Jaws was released in theaters. We will pay our respects. And then, 250 years in the future, all will be lost unless the fifth element is found. Me and the boys will discuss 1997's The Fifth Element. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this the weather's finally getting nice day?
It's beginning to feel like summer, and summer means blockbusters.
It's true, but goddamn is it hot out.
Honestly, I feel like we had a decent enough spring, but I'm kind of feeling like a lot of people are saying, like, we get winter and we get summer and nothing in between. It's like, heaters to air conditioners, and it's not untrue. But I feel like we had a couple decent days, but
too much rain on the weekends.
Very true.
Oh yeah. What happened to April showers bring May flowers? It's June and still
Seriously.
pouring.
Who made that man a gunner?
I did, sir. He's my cousin.
Who is he?
He's an asshole, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole.
And his cousin?
He's an asshole, too, sir. Gunner's mate, first class, Philip Asshole.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Spaceballs the sequel.
Did you see what he was wearing when he announced the movie? He was wearing a sweatshirt that just said "Spaceballs," the sweatshirt.
The sweatshirt.
Right off the bat, I'm like, yes, I'm in. I am so in.
What do we think? Are we excited?
I can't wait. I mean, when they're listing all of those movies, it almost sounds like a rant that I would go off on when I've had too much to drink, where I'm like, how many freaking Marvel movies do we need in all of these shared universes? And now they're remaking Harry Potter all over again. Get off my lawn. So I'm glad someone else out there is listening.
As long as he keeps the original humor, I am sold. But with everything going on in the world, if he caves to like the woke mob and he's got to play it a little more PC, I mean, you're not going to get Blazing Saddles in 2025, I don't think. But who knows? I mean, if we're going to get that, I bring it back. Let's go. Full hog. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Ray, how did you feel about hearing that Rick Moranis is coming out of retirement to be in this?
Uh-oh.
I kind of got pissed. Not going to lie. That kind of pissed me off. I mean, I know for a fact that he was offered to come back for the revival of Ghostbusters, and he's like, no, I'm retired. I'm with my kids. I'm doing the dad thing, da-da-da-da-da. Spaceballs 2 rolls around, and he's all in. It's exciting for that, but it was kind of like, you know what? Kind of pissed me off. So.
Maybe we'll get another Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, God, if he does that before Ghostbusters, I'm going to go to New York and knock him out in the subway.
I'm kind of shocked that he passed Ghostbusters and is doing this. I almost feel like Ghostbusters is the bigger franchise. But I guess maybe his place in this one was much bigger, so maybe he felt a little more compelled.
I think that's true, what it is. In this one, he's going to be either the lead or the second lead, as opposed to Ghostbusters, where he's like the fifth most important character, sixth most important character.
Yeah,
he's down there, but like he would have suited up.
Oh yeah, and it would have been funny, and it would have been funny for guys like us who like those movies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no,
still, I'm going to hold a grudge. So
I gotta say, I'm a wee bit nervous for Spaceballs 2 because I remember when, I don't know if you guys even know, but there's a History of the World Part 2 that came out.
I didn't watch it.
I didn't either. I just asked around, and I heard that's fine, so I really didn't bother. And so I hadn't heard a thing about it that was telling me to go see this. And you would think, if it was living up to the hype of the original, in any way, you'd think somebody would say, "Oh, yeah, you should check it out. It's not great, but yeah." So the fact that I heard very little, I was like, "Yeah, okay." So that's why I'm kind of little tad nervous about this one, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, sometimes silence speaks volumes.
Stop playing with yourself, Hooper. Slow ahead, if you please.
You heard him. Slow ahead.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this shit.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
50 years ago to the day, on the day we are recording this, Jaws came out. I'm going to show my age real bad here. So I didn't. So I saw this in the theater, but I didn't see it on its initial release. So when this came out, I was 5 years old. My parents, I saw my parents for lunch today, and they both were talking about how they had seen it when it came out. And, my mother's talking about how she never got over that when the head floats out. She says, "I jumped out of my seat and jumped into the seat next to me, like I was never so scared in my life." But I did see it honestly in a re-release only a couple years later in the theater, so it was like kind of almost first run, but not quite. So I think I would have been like 9 years old when I saw this in the theater. Yeah, I mean, still, that's a movie that I can easily sit down and watch today. It doesn't feel the slightest bit dated in any way, shape, or form.
Every year when it gets an inevitable re-release, whether it's Fathom events or if it's like, the local art house or something, I feel like that Jaws is playing on a cinema screen at least once every summer. I would definitely pay the $10 or however much it is to go and see it, because on the big screen with the surround sound, it makes it even more terrifying, and it's much more of a spectacle. I mean, this movie is the movie that invented the summer blockbuster.
I know that movie scared the hell out of my parents so bad that they got nervous when we would go to, like the beach in New Jersey on the weekends, and I would want to go in the ocean. You're like, "You're going too far," like that kind of thing. But watching it, I have always enjoyed it, but it never kind of put that kind of hysteria in me, even as a kid. But it's just a fantastic romp of a movie. I mean, it's horror and with a little bit of comedy in there, I guess you could say.
And it's got a lot of heart. That's one of the reasons why this movie works so well. I mean, the characters are great. Watching them interact is wonderful because they're real people, and there's no like big celebrity, like no big A-lister in there. But Robert Shaw was a phenomenal actor with a long career. Richard Dreyfuss, solid performer. Roy Scheider, Oscar winner. So you have some really good performers here, all just playing regular people. I think that's one of the reasons why it works.
No, I totally agree. I mean,
the inspiration for Shark Week.
Dad, what are you doing? It's Shark Week.
If it wasn't for Jaws, we wouldn't get Shark Week for sure.
Yeah, no, this has to be. We've talked before, and I think there's probably only a few movies that I would say are legitimately just perfect films.
Yep.
I mean, this is right there. There's not a frame that's off on this film, and the cocktail of the three guys thrown into the situation together, just so perfect. I mean, this could not have. Yeah. It really is amazing. I've never read the book, but everything I've ever heard is that this really the film is one of those rare occasions where the film is really superior to the book.
I haven't read the book either, so I can't comment, but I've heard the same thing. And how many of those perfect films are Steven Spielberg films? I bet you more than one. I bet you have, when you think about 10 out of 10, every frame works, everything is perfect from performance to music to special effects. A lot of them are Spielberg films, and this is like the granddaddy of them all.
Well, happy anniversary, Jaws. Here's to swimming bow-legged women. Cheers.
Every 5,000 years.
Remove the shield.
When the three planets are in eclipse, the black hole like a door is open. evil comes, spreading terror and chaos.
There's nothing that can stop this.
There is only one thing.
Perfect.
The Mondachiwan have in their possession the only weapon to defeat evil. 4 elements, gathered around a fifth.
In the colorful future, a cab driver unwittingly becomes the central figure in the search for a legendary cosmic weapon to keep evil and Mr. Zorg at bay. Written by Luc Besson and Robert Mark Kamen, directed by Luc Besson, 1997's The Fifth Element. Gentlemen, what do we think about The Fifth Element?
That is one hyper stylized film, if ever there was one. Tell me a movie was made in the 90s without telling me it was made in the 90s.
Yeah, very true. I think this is one of those wildly underrated films. I remember when it came out, I didn't hear much about it, and then when I finally got around to it, I was like, "Gee, this is really good, interesting stuff." I'm surprised I didn't hear more about it. So, yeah, I think this is kind of an underrated gem. I think it's one of those rare cases too. By the way, you could feel that anime style, like when you're trying to do an anime style film, but in real life, and they always get kind of mixed results. I would say this one works really well, and it frankly looks like. I almost sort of feel like it looks like a much higher budget film than it may be. Like, this is one of those films where you're kind of just watching everything happening in the background, where every little detail of the set design looks really thought into, and so I think it's just an underrated, semi-brilliant film.
I'm gonna jump on that comment. You just said something that kind of stuck with me, where you're watching a lot of things that are going on in the background. I think one of the things about this movie, not a lot of people remember it for the movie itself. They don't really remember the story. They don't remember the plot. They remember the imagery. They remember Lilu's bandage outfit, or they remember Bruce Willis wearing the torn tuxedo shirt. Anybody else want to negotiate? They remember the cigarettes that are like 90% filter or just a little bit of cigarette.
For sure.
Right.
This is one of those movies where it's a lot of like imagery and iconography that has kind of seeped into our minds, even if you don't really remember watching the film.
You're agreed. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. This is absolutely one of my favorite films, especially in the sci-fi genre. I just think they did an excellent job with the world building. It's a unique story. The characters are unique. Creature design, practical effects, it's action, it's comedy, it's sci-fi. It's got a little bit of everything in there, and that's probably one of my favorite things about the film. We did movie quotes in the past. I can't tell you how often we quote certain lines from this movie in my house. You like it, with the dude robbing him at the beginning. We go to the grocery store, get a rotisserie chicken good. Leave it down. Like, we do all that stuff. I adore this movie. As much as I love this movie, and this is like a top ranking film for me, the cast is brilliant. You've got Bruce Willis as Corbin Dallas, Mila Jovovich as Lilu, Gary Oldman as Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
Is there any role he can't play? That guy can do anything.
Ian Holm, Father Vito Cornelius. You've got, what's his name? Thomas Dwayne Jr. as the President Debo from Friday, that guy. But then you got Luke Perry as fucking Billy. Billy's in there. He's in the, notice when the credits roll, he's in there. He's like top card material. Mm-hmm. Luke Perry's in the movie for less than 3 minutes.
He might even get and Luke Perry. He might get that.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's in there as it's rolling through, naming all these A-list actors. You got Luke Perry. Why? You could have hired could have hired anybody else, probably saved a couple $1 million and put it towards the special effect budget for the digital stuff. Because the practical effects, I think, are fantastic in this movie. As much as I love it, like I said, practical effects are fantastic. There are some of the digital stuff that now at least seems aged. At the time, I remember being great. But why the fuck is Luke Perry in this movie?
Well,
that was the dumbest thing I think of this. This is going to come in later at the end of this episode. I'm gonna repeat all this. I'm sorry, but that just really irked me as much as I love this movie.
It's funny that you say that because I wrote down that I kind of got into the 1914 story this time around. I'm like, I want to spend a little bit more time with these characters. Like, what happens with Luke Perry next? Like, where did they go, or how did they get there? Like, I think there's a Fifth Element prequel or spinoff in there somewhere. I mean, it's not going to star Luke Perry, unfortunately, but there's more in that world that I kind of want to see.
I'd be very curious too. I can't tell you how many times my son leaves his bedroom light on, and either me or Sarah from the other room goes, Aziz, light! To remind him to turn that damn thing off.
It is one of those moments when you're watching a movie. Like, I feel like there's so many times where if I'm watching a movie and there's a scene with a whole bunch of randos, and then all of a sudden the camera pans over and there's an actor that's very recognizable, you just go, okay, he's somebody. So we're going to be, whoever that is, we're going to be seeing them much more often because they know who that actor is. And that's exactly to your point. It's like you watch this and all of a sudden there's Luke Perry there and it's like, what the heck is, why is he in here for that little bit?
It could be a big
Well, this came out in,
kind of
like so. Like
the first
this came out in the
Impossible.
90s.
Exactly.
This was 96, so like I guess that's 90210. So if you want to draw that crowd in, you have Luke Perry in there for less than 3 minutes and bill him as top cast just to draw that crowd in, maybe. That's the only thing I could think of.
I guess, yeah.
It's like putting Emilio Estevez in the beginning of the first Mission Impossible, and you think like, okay, this guy's going to be like the sidekick character for the rest of the movie, and then 2 scenes later he gets squished.
Right. Nailed it.
Hello.
Corbin, sweetheart. You got broken fingers, you can't punch my number?
Hi, Mom.
You know who else is in this movie? 6 Degrees of James Bond. Did anybody else notice Rosika Miklos?
Rosika Miklos. Good to work with you again, Mr. Bond. Come.
Oh, yes.
Blink and you miss her, but she's a small bit character in this movie who's a small bit character in The Living Daylights. So it's like a James Bond deep cut, but there she is. I don't even know what the actress's name is, but I'm watching it.
I forget too.
That's Rosika Miklos.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm going to be kind of stumped for things to talk about with this movie because I feel like it's such a good one. It really is a great film, and I find it to be wildly underrated. Like, I don't know why this isn't much bigger and much more popular. I feel like this should have like a big underground following. And I don't know that I maybe, but like not in the way that I would sort of see him, at all.
I think you would be pleasantly surprised. I can tell you, coming out of high school, I knew a girl that had the Fifth Element Lilu tattoo on her wrist. Me and my wife, we have a thing on our mantle. We have the Firestone sitting there. Like,
really?
This is. I don't think it's a cult underground type thing. I just think it is for sci-fi nerds. This is up there. Kind of along the lines of like a Galaxy Quest type thing, but more mainstream. The story, the characters, all that. I think it's got everything there, and I mean, people love it. Cosplayers, yeah. If you go to any Comic-Con, I guarantee you're going to see somebody dressed as a character from Fifth Element. Probably going to be a Lilu or a Corbin Dallas.
There's always a Lilu.
Oh, thank God for OnlyFans.
This is a movie that it could, and I think it probably was at the time, it could be dismissed as goofy, but that's missing what makes it fun. Like, part of why this is a fun movie to watch is it's very over the top, and it's very hyper stylized, and it's very silly, not in a bad way. Like it's like a popcorn munching, world building kind of movie, and it reminds me a lot of another movie. Kind of has a similar cult following. Did you guys ever see The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension? It's a sci-fi movie from the 80s with Peter Weller and Christopher Lloyd, and it kind of has like that same kind of special effects where it's like it's meant to look a little cheap even though it's not cheap, but it kind of looks like you're watching like a 30s or 40s serial intentionally. The Fifth Element, watching it this time, reminded me of Buckaroo Banzai.
I completely remember Buckaroo Banzai. I remember hearing of it when I was younger because it was in all like the sci-fi magazines, and I think eventually I got around to seeing it, but I couldn't remember a thing from it.
I would recommend that one. If you like The Fifth Element, check out Buckaroo Banzai.
Okay.
It's the same type of. Is it action? Is it comedy? Is it sci-fi? Yes, it's all of the above.
Mm.
Well, here's something I noticed. You both commented on the hyper stylized part, and Joe, you said anime. I'd say this movie is just a straight up sci-fi comic book come to life. So you have the crazy characters, you've got the action sequences, you've got the comedy, and it's all written in there, and everything's so well framed and directed that it just brings that to life. Like I said, one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is the character, along with the story, is the practical effects. I love practical effects. I'll take practical effects over CGI and all of the airsoft guns, all that crap that you see on movies now. But doing it live with blanks and things like that, and it's those movies that we had in the 80s and early 90s with puppeteers and things like that done to the next level. The Shandanoans, I think they were called, the guys at the very beginning, the big bronze guys, like big penguin looking dudes that are wobbling back and forth.
Yeah.
And then you had the Chantori, I think they were, the ogre looking guys that steal the stones and come back. Like in between there are some digital effects, like going from the one guy when he meets Zorg, they all come in and they're doing the deal to get the stones in trade for the guns, and he's like, oh, don't oh God, I can't remember exactly what he said. He tells him to, get rid of his face, his human-looking face. He shakes it off. He's like, never be ashamed of who you are. Shakes it off, and he looks like the big ogre dude, and then he starts talking. Aside from that little transition into it, that's the digital effect back to the practical effect, and those costumes are amazing. That makeup is fantastic, and that's one of the best things about this movie for me.
I can't argue there. I don't know if you picked up in the credits, the costumes were designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier himself. So that, I think, adds to why things are like really super designy and cool looking.
No, I did not. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's so much care and attention paid to the design work. So this is one of those films too. I remember I've said about Star Wars, I said, I always felt that Star Wars was such a rich universe that I thought it was rich for sequels. Like I remember saying, like, you could do other stories in this world. They don't all have to be like, like what's next for Luke Skywalker kind of thing. You could do other things. And then eventually with things like The Mandalorian, they eventually sort of came around to that idea, and you could sort of see that it works. This to me is very similar. I mean, the world building that went into this film, I almost feel like, why not make more of these? I kind of felt like, I would have probably loved it if they had more things happen in this world.
I could even see it with one or two tweaks, this being a Star Wars movie. I mean, if you just change the universe in which this story takes place, it could very easily be a Star Wars movie. It's that type of adventure sci-fi with hints of comic relief. It has the same kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd buy that.
It borrows a lot from other like classic adventure movies, I see a lot of Total Recall in this. I even see some Raiders. I mentioned Star Wars. I see Blade Runner. I see RoboCop in this movie. Mm-hmm. But then you also see, when you watch this movie, the other things that it influenced, because Men in Black came out shortly after this, and I think there's some shared DNA there. And I also see some of The Matrix being born out of The Fifth Element. So it's a movie that kind of it borrows from the films that influenced it, and then it influenced subsequent films. And for a movie to do both and do both successfully, it's a strong film.
Yeah.
True. Did either of you notice the similarity between the Police and Judge Dredd?
Yeah,
costume design.
Yeah, it is kind of like Judge Dredd.
I think that was a pretty good.
That's interesting.
Another good parallel. And like most sci-fi movies, you've got the reluctant hero that kind of talks to the audience, not directly, but the type of character that the audience can relate to as a protagonist. Especially in a world with which we're not familiar, it's important to have that kind of character that, okay, I know who this guy is. He's a cab driver by day, ex-military. All right, maybe it takes place 300 years in the future, but I kind of know what kind of person this guy is. Young Girl on the Run, sure. Another classic. It's a classic story in any genre, but definitely a sci-fi classic. Just a desperate young woman in need of someone to rescue her.
That's true. And we've all had that boss that we're kind of friends with that's kind of annoying.
Welcome on. Have a nice day.
Major Dallas, you're selected for a mission of the utmost importance.
What mission?
Save the world.
How about the fictional weapons, Ray? I know.
Oh my God.
That was a conversation we had a couple episodes back. You've got the gun that you fire at the target one time, and then every other bullet hits the target. I kind of like that.
Oh yes, the Zorg repeater, the ZF1. Yes, that makes my top 5 favorite fictional firearms of all time. Absolutely. And if you ever want to watch a video on YouTube of somebody that actually owns one, Adam Savage from the Tested channel, previously Mythbusters, has replicas of it. And my God, if I would burn out my 3D printer trying to make one, but damn it, that is like definitely beats the. Oh, for sure, it definitely beats the hell out of the boombox bazooka from
Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop.
So, minor observation: is it me or does Bruce Willis look really skinny in this? Right? I mean, he doesn't look out of shape or anything by any stretch, but I felt like, I almost felt like this was, like, he was much bulkier, I think, in Die Hard. And I think by the time this came around, I remember noticing that he looked a lot slimmer. And I couldn't even, it was kind of funny because I thought he looked very funny in a good way, but like kind of funny with the blonde hair in this. Like he looked a little different. But I kept thinking he looked really skinny, and it was sort of interesting because it was like I felt like I don't know if I could put my finger on this character exactly. Like it was almost like I feel like he was, in some ways he's very classic. He's a guy with a past. He's the only guy who can accomplish the mission, that sort of thing. He's a real badass. But it was almost like they really, really hid that well until the end. You know what I mean? Like they play him. It's like he's playing it as this kind of everyman stuck in this weird situation. Almost like he can't understand why he's being sent on it. By the time you get to the end, close to the climax where he busts up the room and anybody else want to negotiate, that now suddenly he was John McClane again. And I was kind of going like, where was this guy the whole time? I mean, it was quite literally to the point where I was almost asking myself the second time I saw the film if they were doing kind of a Total Recall-y sort of a story where even he doesn't know, how talented he is, what a badass he is, etc. If that makes any sense.
And I wonder if that's why he slimmed down for the role, to make him look less like a macho He-Man. So when it does happen, it's a little bit more of a surprise.
I can see that.
Especially coming off of Pulp Fiction, where he played a boxer, so he's a little bit more muscular and bulky. Here he is more slim. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he's the ex-military, but now he's civilian life, burnt out, doesn't know what he's gonna do. Has 50 points on his license. No, he's got 5. Like he's on his his wits end type deal, and just says screw it when Lilu falls into his cab, and he's like, you know what? Let's go on an adventure, and just goes for it. And one thing leads to another, and he saves the world.
And I wonder if part of that is this world also. Like, I know in a lot of science fiction movies, and it's never said here, but maybe that's the implication, there's always like food scarcity. So it could be trying to tell us that also, because Lilu is pretty skinny as well.
How is there food scarcity? He goes to his window and has a Thai boat come roll up and cook right in front of him.
That's true.
God. Lilu sits there.
Uncle Benny from Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh, you're not.
That's right.
You are fired.
You are fired. That's actually one of my favorite scenes. I just love the idea that they float up to your window with the floating boat looking spaceship. It was so cool.
Oh my God. I'd be in heaven if I opened up my window and a little Chinese man showed up, or Thai, I'm sorry, whatever, and just cooked me fresh food right there.
Isn't that Uber Eats?
Yeah.
Yeah, but cooks it in front of you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Or you just put that little pea in the microwave, hit a button, boom. Oh, right. Chicken good. Got a whole turkey meal, whatever it is right there.
Honestly, yeah. There's so many, that's what I mean. There's so many like really good scenes in this, just stuff like that, like little gems that, again, you kind of almost go under the radar, but they're so damn good. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think that's kind of my one thing with this film is like, and it's not a bad thing. It just kind of makes you go, huh? Like, again, I feel like his character is kind of like this sort of, down on his luck schlub that we're supposed to sort of, at least that's how I think I'm supposed to see him, just, things are not going so well. Something happened to him, and now he's got to kind of rise to the occasion. But then all of a sudden, like later, he's like this sort of superhero. And then again, all the military, they come in to recruit him for this mission, so they know who he is too. So it's almost like he's like totally like an amnesia patient. Like it's almost like he can't remember, who he was. I feel like that feels like other films. What's that one with I guess there's a couple like this. I mean, I'm kind of reaching further than I need to, because I guess there's like a Born Identity quality that I'm sort of tapping on. But maybe a better example is there was something about A Kiss Before Midnight or something with Gina Davis and Sam Jackson in the 90s. She's like this like regular house. There's probably a couple of movies that sort of do this routine, but she's like a regular housewife. Everything is fine. And then all of a sudden, like she's, when she's dicing the vegetables, she realizes she's got like these abilities and stuff. And little by little, you realize, oh, she was a spy, and something happened, and she kind of forgot that she was a spy and thought she was a housewife, etc. I almost felt like they were kind of doing that bit here.
I don't know that film, but it could also be kind of like A History of Violence, where he's trying to just live a normal everyday life with a normal everyday job, but circumstances call him to get back to his suppressed badassery.
I think that's in line with it, yeah, for sure.
Where are the stone?
I don't know. And even if I did know, I wouldn't tell somebody like you.
There's nowhere else to go.
You know who we haven't really spoken about, and we've talked about just about everyone, or at least every major character in this movie, except one. What do we think of Chris Tucker?
Here he is, the one and only winner of the Gemini Croquette Contest. This boy is fueled like fire. So start melting, ladies, because the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot, hot, hot.
I fucking love Chris Tucker.
That is most Chris Tucker. He has never been, nor will ever be, more Chris Tucker than he is in this film.
Rudy Rod.
Honestly, I remember when I saw him in this, And I remember thinking, like, that guy will probably never get any other work because he's so good at this. Like, he was so convincing. I thought this was him. I'm 99% sure this is the first time I ever saw him in anything.
I think so.
This was my introduction to him. Yeah, so I just kind of felt like, oh, this guy, you know, he's a way over the top. I mean, he's really great in this, but I don't think I'll ever see him in anything else. Then you started to see him in these other things, and I was like, he's not near. I feel like everything after this was such a letdown. Because
he dialed it back.
Right, like he had to sort of dial it down for other things. And I feel like for this one, he was just over the top. And I'll tell you this, too. I feel like that's a character who should get really, like, tired quickly. But I didn't find that. I felt like even keeping him, like, a major player throughout the whole rest of the film kind of worked. It's like I never got kind of tired of him. He was always good, funny, you know, again, over the top and everything. He
certainly fits into this world.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I was gonna say, speaking of quotes, I mean, how many of us in the bedroom have been like, I don't want one position, I want all positions.
TMI. I don't kiss and tell.
No, what? Oh. Oh man, Rudy Rod's I mean, obviously the comic relief of the film, but the delivery, it's so over the top and obnoxious in a good way. It's you want to find it annoying, but it's just too funny. I guess that's just Chris Tucker's delivery, especially when you hear him doing the radio broadcast. You know that morning DJ that acts like that and talks like that and is just annoying, and that's what they're making fun of. But then bringing it into this story and the contest and like the interview that he does with Corbin Dallas, and you get one word answers. He's so all that energy, all that excitement. Now a word from a man, Corbin. Yeah. Like that's what you get out of like grunt words, and he's just like getting frustrated because he's like, you need to, and he grabs him by the throat. Are we green? Super green.
It's and that bit is so good. The film almost for a few minutes transforms into a musical. Like it's almost like doing a Temple of Doom where literally, like, now we're watching a performance, and it's not a performance within the film, it's a performance for the audience, you know, if that makes sense. Like it's almost fourth wall breaking in the way it's done, but it just works so good. Like it's a nice, it's almost perfect for that moment too. Like you're kind of ready for some just fun, you know, like it's the point in the story where we just need a fun bit here. We introduce this character, this way over the top character, but it's gonna be fun and funny, etc. Like it just really works.
Speaking of the show within the show, I really enjoy some of the opera music. The diva dance, I think, is fantastic, and it really like invented a new genre of music where it's electronic opera, and I've never heard anything else like it before or since. This is like a one-off type of musical style that doesn't exist anywhere else but in this film, and it's really good.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar to what I just said about the Ruby Rod bit. It was like, is it Rudy Rod? Kind of similar to that. It's like you think that this performance is just part of the story, you know, like you're just gonna like. You'll hear some music happening, but you'll be paying attention to the people around doing things, whatever. But before you know it, it's like the music is really good, and you sort of just find yourself like tapping along, getting into it. You know, like it's really good stuff.
Yeah, it's speaking of that
scene, I was going to say, speaking of that scene, I love the bit about the deaf footballer, but like. He's looking for a weapon. He's like, oh, right there. He's like, oh, the guy that can't hit. And he rolls him rolls the ball over to him. He's like, what the fuck?
Thanks. I was going to say, it's Luc Besson, so of course it's Eric Serra doing the music, and you can tell right away all of those Eric Serra styles and cues are there, but this is probably the best work he ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say something about that too. I was trying to. It was funny. I was going to say something about the music in this and the fact that Eric Serra, who I know he's done a lot of great stuff. I know he's done,
a stinker.
Right. To us, he's the guy who kind of botched GoldenEye, But, and I remember thinking back to the music in this film, and because I can remember like the Ruby Rod stuff. I remember, the opera bit. And I was asking myself, like, other than those more obvious performance parts, is the music really stand out in this? And I think it's good. I think it's very good.
Well, it suits this world where everything is hyper stylized, and I think the adjective that best describes this movie is unhinged. So to have like a classical music score would not have worked for a film like this. It needs to be like a little wild, a little out there, heavily electronic, avant-garde, and that's where Eric Serra shines.
But it doesn't necessarily stick to that, though. I mean, the opening chase with the taxi is semi-tropical, I guess you'd call it. Like, it's a lot of like sounds like a steel drum type thing, and then you have the electronic and the stuff like that in the opera, and then everything blends together with that scene. But like, you get a little amalgamation of just about like anything you could think of for a soundtrack. I think they did a fantastic job doing that.
Yeah, it's a really good soundtrack, and I'm one of the people who does shit on Eric Serra from time to time, but he turns in a good one here, especially when he sings over the end credits. I'm not always a fan of that, but in this movie, it's okay.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, he's very interesting here, and great stuff. I mean, I can't. I'm really gonna have a hard time coming up with something that I want to criticize about this movie, because I know it's not a 10, yet I can't really point at anything and say, this I don't like, that I don't like, etc.
Well, it's definitely a mood movie. I don't think this is one that you just kind of throw on. You have to really be in the right frame of mind for The Fifth Element, because it is kind of trippy. It is a little heady. So I'm not so sure that like, I'm just going to chill out and zone out. The movie I'm going to do that with is The Fifth Element. It's a little too zany for that. So you really do kind of need to be in the proper frame of mind to watch it. And that's not a criticism. That's just the circumstance of a film like this. That's a little weird. You just need to you need to approach this one knowing what you're getting into approaching.
Yeah. Yeah,
I could kind of see that. But I will say that there are some themes in the movie that are, I wouldn't call it a family film, but I think you can get away with it. Like I said, my kids are watching it right now prior to us recording with my wife. There's some themes in there that, especially with Ruby Rod, that aren't appropriate, but depending on the age, it's easily glanced over.
Mm-hmm.
And but they love this movie. I love this movie. I mean, it's classic good versus evil, and it's made apparent from the very, very beginning. What is it? Evil on evil makes it more evil. It's a plot point at the very beginning when they're firing missiles trying to destroy this big evil entity. It's coming to destroy the Earth, and the only thing that could defeat it is good on good and love. So the actual points behind the movie are pertinent and understood by any age.
And you're right. It's not for all audiences, but you could show children this movie. I mean, there's no gory violence. There's nothing in poor taste. There's nothing especially explicit about it. Like I think that you could show, because even the nudity that's in it is not done in like a sexual or aggressive nature. It's just because it's almost like a birth.
It's kind of blink and you miss it anyway.
Yes. I don't think I wouldn't have a problem showing this movie to like a teen or preteen.
My kids are 7 and 9.
Yeah.
So,
and that's that. I don't think there's anything in this movie that a 7 and a 9-year-old couldn't handle. I mean, like I said, there's nothing like it's not like watching Private Ryan where blood and guts flying all over the place.
There's a couple shot of Ruby Rod with the stewardess there. But,
but that's true.
PG-13-ish, not too bad. Yeah,
but that's what I mean. It's like glanced
Maybe
over.
I'm just
even
jaded,
like
I don't notice that anymore.
but Kyle, like you said, even the nudity, it's no worse than like walking through any art museum and seeing like a topless chick.
Right.
It's done super tastefully. It's not like, oh, titties. Like
yeah.
They're
hard to spot, and trust me, I tried very hard to look.
Oh, they're there if you squint.
She had a growth spurt between that and Resident Evil.
Yeah, even watching this movie, she looks so young. Like it's almost it's almost like she was cast because she looks young and has like a childlike appearance. Because the character is kind of childlike. She doesn't communicate right from the beginning, and the first time we see her, it is very much like styled as if it's a birth. So to have somebody who presents as younger than she is, I think is a good casting decision.
Who in God's name would do such a thing?
Hang on. As much I am, like, I would imagine, out of the three of us, I'm the biggest fan of this movie. Because I watch it so much and all, but I'm going to be the first to admit there's some plot holes.
All right.
And some visual errors.
Okay.
So you were just talking about the scene when like they reestablish her. They do the DNA. She's in the computer. Okay, now we're gonna bombard her with varying degrees of UV light. That makes everything protect itself. That means growing skin, and then you see her laying there, artfully on the table. Okay, thermal bands, the straps come out and all that. Little machine comes out, flashes, take pictures for the archives. All of a sudden she flashes to life. She's bouncing around like a wild animal inside that tube. She doesn't know what it is. The little machine, the camera thing moves away. She's kind of swatting at it like a cat, like, hey, what is that? What is that? It disappears. He walks up, he's about to push the button, pushes his hand away, perfect. He walks up, he's like, hey, if you want to get out of there, you got to learn to behave. And he's waving the multipass. And she looks him like dead in the eye. And she gets down in that like cat on the like about to pounce look. And then the next scene, when she pulls her arm back and she's about to break through, if you look right on the glass, you could see the puncture mark. And it's all like fake jagged right where she puts her fist through. It was something I noticed when I first watched the film, and I've never been able to let it go. But then plot hole, the Amanda Showen at the very beginning of the movie, he's you need to, the priest, come on, you got to get out of here, it's closing. He's like, life doesn't matter, or time doesn't matter, life's what matters. And he sticks out his finger, the wall crushes, and just the key is sticking on the outside. Takes the key gets handed down all the way 300 years later to Cornelius. The end of the movie, they go back to that same temple. They open it up to put the fifth element, Lilu, in her place. Where'd the Amanda Showen go? He just disappeared. He was crushed on the inside, trapped forever, is what they imply. He never appears again. There's no big pile of dust because maybe he's an alien. He just deteriorates into just that. It's not a skeleton. It's not like a bronze armor thing with a skeleton in it. He's just gone. It didn't exist. It never happened. I think that's a plot hole. I don't think that... by the way, my daughter's the one that pointed out. I was like, oh, he's a different species. Maybe he just disintegrated into dust. I'm like, shit, I never thought of that.
That is a really good thought. I had not...
There she is.
That had not occurred to me.
Yeah, but to me, that's like a little plot hole. And there's a couple throughout the movie, but it's minor. I'm trying to hate on the film I love because you guys aren't hating on it enough. I thought you guys were to come into this and be like, what the fuck, Ray? You told us to watch this movie. It's all right. And shitting on it, but you guys like it, so I'm kind of surprised.
It's hard not to like this movie.
I'll tell you this: if you want, I will put this in the form of a complaint, even though I don't know if it is. I don't think I ever made the connection until you just said it, that the temple or whatever it is that they end up at the end is the same one from the beginning. I never quite got that. I thought it was a different place they were going to, but I just not.
I mean, maybe I'm
attention
wrong. I assumed.
No,
it
I think
was.
you're
That's where
probably
they take
very
Lady
right. I
Rabbit.
think you're probably exactly right. I think I just kind of missed it.
Maybe I didn't watch it closely enough to notice whether or not it is or isn't the same temple.
Maybe you drank too much grappa that night.
I get the grappa. I'm assuming it's the same temple because why wouldn't it be?
Well, I mean, at the end when you see like the little thing, like as it's coming down to like destroy it, it looks like the same one as the one that's lifting off. I'm assuming it's the same place.
I think it is.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think it is.
Ray, you described Lilu several times as cat-like or feline. You said this a couple of times, and I think you're onto something there. And I'm going to take it that much further. I would say she's almost like a feral cat in the beginning.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
needs to be not needs to be, but like becomes more domesticated as the film goes on. She starts out as like this really like nervy, feisty feline type, and then becomes a lot more docile and loving as the movie continues. So good spot on the cat imagery there.
Well, she's going from however long ago in the past as the only thing that could defend, the Earth and all these other planets that the Fifth element is there to protect, and at that point you're talking to like prehistoric and all that, so she is feral, but now she's watching the video, she's training, watching our complete history on rapid fire microfiche DVD thing or whatever you want to call it, training, and she's learning karate. Was it karate or was she?
I know kung fu. And see that's where I see. Okay, the Matrix kind of took from this a little bit.
But then she starts learning about the why is it worth saving after seeing all the war stuff. So I could totally see her going from being that feral creature to modern to, all right, now what I need is love. And I think that's the whole point of the movie is we can be savages. We can work our way up to being, reasonable people and all that. But then every time we do that, it always leads to this. And is it worth saving? And what's the one thing that's worth saving is just caring about each other, love. It's just that universal truth and message, to keep mankind going. Am I getting deep, or did I just have too much?
Too much grappa? No, I think that's
too much grappa.
That's really well put.
I will say this. I kind of felt like the bit where she is watching all the war footage, just so by the time we get to the end that she can, be in such despair and doesn't think the world is worth saving, etc. That part might be a little bit of a story wrinkle for me, because I kind of felt like, I don't know, like it was almost like we needed her to sort of be that way so he can tell her no, the life is worth this, whatever. It was almost like, so you're just gonna have her watch some TV a little before the end of the movie to kind of get into that state. I don't know. I unless I'm forgetting things that maybe happened. I mean, I almost feel like there probably could have been bad things that happened all along the way that could have had that effect on her, but they don't really show it. If I'm, like I said, I could be remembering it wrong, but I felt like she seemed not oblivious to it, but sort of above it all. And then it wasn't until she sat there and watched a little TV that all of a sudden she was just ready to fall apart because the world is terrible.
I think if
but they kind of did the same thing in. I'm sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
I think if she would have experienced some of that evil in the movie, like maybe something that Zorg did or something that she saw him do, and that's why she would think the world is evil, something that we saw her experience firsthand rather than passively watching pieces of history that have already taken place. I don't know. I think it still works as it is, but I get what you're saying, Joe.
I was going to compare it to A Clockwork Orange when they're finally like brainwashing him at the end, and that's all they're doing is all those violent images from all the different wars, and it just takes an emotional toll on, I don't remember his name from, but like you see him
Alex DeLarge,
kind of like, yeah, there you go. He takes that breath and then he like lets it out, and like he's tearing up and he's kind of like defeated and watching it, but he's still staring because he can't blink, and it's like a gut wrenching thing for him. But then that's what brainwashes him into it. In this case, she's watching it and she has that emotional breakdown, but she's realizing, and she can look away and just like, all right, this is enough. I'm not going to deal with that. At the same time, I just lost my train of thought, so skip that. Right, I had somewhere I wanted to go with that.